is to lock arms with some like-minded people that you want to spend life with and take this journey together. So I think a lot of you know my story, so I don't think I want to go too detailed in it, but just quickly, 21 years ago, my sister was the one that found Juice Plus for her family, and it was her excitement and her story that caused me to buy Juice Plus for my husband. I didn't think I needed it because I thought I was healthy enough, but Joel had gained 100 pounds in a really stressful job, and I was worried about his health. But when I started taking it finally, I was one of these people that went from feeling really sick and tired to feeling so much better every day. And I didn't realize that these little capsules could really bridge the gap in my health. And that's what happened. And I didn't get the business right away at the beginning. In fact, the only reason I said yes was really to pay for my product. I'm a sale girl. I still am, even though today I don't have to shop on the sale rack, I do. But I really love the idea of sharing Juice Plus naturally, like I was doing, and making some extra money. But it was when I had my daughter, and she was about 6 months old, that my true why came into place. And that was that I wanted to be a stay at home mom. And that's one of my first challenges to you guys as we start this new year, is to evaluate your why, because a strong why is the reason that you'll step outside your comfort zone, that you'll be bold, that you'll, do the things that you have to do every day to build this, is having a real strong why. And it was that staying home with my kids that drove me to do some very uncomfortable things that I couldn't believe I did. And so once I really became intentional about this and started to move outside my comfort zone and be consistent, I reached the national marketing director position in about 2 years. And that was pretty quick back then because we didn't have social media and things like that. It was like, wow, we had to pick up the heavy phone and we had to really become super intentional about reaching out to people. It wasn't like we didn't have the connections we have today. So we really do have a wonderful benefit with social media today because we're all in each other's lives and it's so easy to reach out to people. Anyway, once I reached that position, and the reason I became intentional, I think this is important, was because of an event. And we hear about your story, we hear about events. It was that night hearing Wendy Campbell that changed my whole perspective of this. I really went from being scared of selling. That's what I was stuck in. I had the wrong perspective of this business because this business actually isn't about selling. It's about helping people. It's about sharing a gift with people. And that's what Wendy Campbell called Juice Plus that night. And that resonated with me. I thought, you know what? Juice Plus is a gift. I love how she's talking about it like that. That's how I'm going to talk about it with people. And it was that night that I decided to be intentional. The funniest part of that night, you guys, was that my husband was there. It's a long story as to why he was there, but he overheard Wendy share her income. And her income was what his beginning teachers were making in a year. That's what Wendy was making in a month. And that got Joel's attention. I didn't know Joel heard her income. And after that event that night, I looked at him. I said, I'm going to build this business and I'm going to stay home with our kids. And he said, yes, you are, because he had heard her income. But never did we imagine that we would be making that kind of income, you guys. So it's okay not to have a big belief at the beginning, but let me tell you, Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. Don't worry, it is possible to reach that kind of income. And today we've doubled that. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. It's just incredible to me. So, but what I want to start with is a challenge to really embrace the success ingredients. So I want you to check yourself while I go through these. And I already mentioned the first one is to have a strong why. You have to know why you're building this business. Maybe it's to get out of a job that you hate, or maybe it's to free up your family financially so that, your spouse can feel pressure or a relief of pressure from the job that they hate. Maybe it's to take your family on an awesome vacation every year and you got to cut pictures out and make a little board that you stare at every day, whatever it is. The second success ingredient is to be teachable. And that came into place that night that I decided to build this business. All of a sudden, I went from not being teachable because I wasn't listening to what my sponsor was saying to listening to everything she said. And we don't have to create a system for this business. It's already there. All you have to do is use the tools that are available to you. Don't get into the trap of creating because you'll waste time. That's such a distraction. Just use what's there and just get busy. And that's the third ingredient is work. Be willing to work. And that was the difference between me making a really small paycheck and watching my paycheck grow, was that I treated this like a job. I really honestly embraced it. It didn't mean I had to have the same pressures that you would at a normal job. It meant that I had to choose the times that I could work, which is a blessing. We get to pick when we work, but that there is a time when we work and you do it. And then the last ingredient, success ingredient, is to care more about other people than you do yourself. And I knew I had that early on because I was giving my Juice Plus away. And my husband caught me one day giving Juice Plus away. And he said, I know I don't know a lot about business because I'm not in it. He goes, but I don't think that's a good way to start your business. And I said, no, I don't think so either. So I realized I was scared of asking people for their credit card, and I had to learn to get over that. So, I had to settle some things in my own mind. And I think we all have to do that. Number one, I had to really work on my belief. And there are several beliefs. I had to strongly get my belief a 10 in this product. I had to understand, that Juice Plus was set apart. And I'm not going to go into why it is, but you guys, it is. It's set apart. And I also had to learn to believe in the company, this industry, our team, and myself. And that was the biggest issue, was myself. I'm a people pleaser. So for me to ask people for their credit card, that was hard for me. I would shake picking the phone up to follow up because I was so scared of talking to people. Sharing my story wasn't hard. Calling them to follow up and ask for their credit card, that was hard to me. But I had to learn that I had to do that hard thing. And eventually I figured out that follow-up is how you change lives. And follow-up, the fortune is in follow-up. Follow-up is how you build your paycheck. And man, I was a dog on a bone. My husband observed this in me. He would be like, Julie, you don't leave any stone unturned. I'm like, I just don't. I am going to stay with people until they either say yes or they tell me to stop bothering them. Why? Because I want to make money on them? No, because I know more about the benefits of Juice Plus than they do. I know more about the beauty of this, and I have to help them understand it. So I think I got to that point where I said, you know what? I am going to get over what people think of me. And I want to share a couple things that I decided in my head I would think, just so I could overcome that. Number one is that if somebody ever said to me, Julie, are you trying to sell me something? I mean, that haunted me, that phrase. I decided I was going to say to them, absolutely not. Please go to juiceplus.com. And the company never keeps leads for themselves. They'll give you somebody in this local area to take care of you. It doesn't have to be me. So that really helped me. It was just in my head because I never actually, excuse me, I never actually said that to anybody, but I needed to have that in my head. The other thing I loved having in my mind to give me confidence and boldness was the fact that I never wanted a friend to say, Julie, you knew about this and you never told our family, and you knew my kids could get this free and you never told me. And so I really tucked that away in my mind, and that made me continue to follow up. That was the perspective of how I was a dog on a bone, following up with people. It wasn't about me getting a sale. It was about me helping them understand what I knew already. And that's that Juice Plus could bless their health. So anyway, success ingredients, belief. The next thing is a little book that I read early on. And it was the key to building a network marketing business that was strong and making money. And guess what? There were two things in the book that it said you had to get really good at. Okay, are you ready? Number one, your story. You have to get so good at telling your story that you have a super short version of it, you have a longer version of it, you have a 10-second version that you could tell in the store, and that you could not only inspire people with that story and give vision, but that story would impact and move people. Okay, whether it's a prospect becoming a customer or a customer joining our business, or someone who's already in our business deciding they want to go all the way with this. Your story has to give vision to people. So that was the first thing in this little book. The second thing was you have to get good at doing events, and you got to pick the event. Don't keep changing your event. I mean, it's okay to change your event, like you do a focus on coffee one time, or you do a focus on salad in a jar. That's fine. What I'm talking about is the core message of your event. You got to be good at it. It's just like your story. You got to know it. I don't care which slides you use, just pick the ones that you love. And you should get so good at that event that you could do it in your sleep. You can do it without looking at the slides because you know it so well. Just do the same thing over and over, and you have that core little message. There were times I got so good at that event that we didn't need to use an overhead projector. Can you believe we used an overhead projector? We should have called this talk today Walking in the Snow. That's what Sharon and I did. We had to hand out audio tapes. I had to mail them, and they would get broken in the mail, and I would have to send them again. So just so you appreciate texting a video, it is so much easier today. And we had to use an overhead projector when we first did events. Is that hysterical? I got so good though that I didn't have to use the overhead after a while. I could just stand up and start doing the event out of my head. Okay. And I know that might scare some of you who are new because you're like, I don't even know what slide she's talking about. Don't worry. We're going to help you do the event until you feel comfortable. And that brings me to another hilarious story is that I chickened out of my first event. Well, my very first event my sponsor did, I wasn't inviting the way she told me to. And I thought like 60 people were going to show up. No one showed up, zero, because I didn't invite the correct way. And the second time she said, "Are you ready to invite correctly?" I said, "Yes." Can you teach me that again? So it's okay to make mistakes because you're going to learn from those. But the first night it was time for me to do my own event, I completely chickened out, you guys. I was so scared. I felt like I was going to be physically sick. And my sweet sponsor, one more time, did the event for me one more time. And from then on, I said, okay, it's my turn. I've got to learn how to do this. So don't think that we just stepped into this and that we just became pros right away. Oh my gosh, no. It was up and down. It was like a little roller coaster ride. And you know, part of the beauty in creating momentum in this business is being consistent regardless of results. And results aren't always going to come. Sometimes nobody is going to show up. Sometimes people are going to cancel. Sometimes somebody's going to seem super excited about the business and you go to call them and they're gone. I mean, what happened? They were excited yesterday, but you know what? Somebody got to them. Someone got to them who was negative, a spouse, a friend, and talked them out of their excitement, you know, whatever. You just got to keep rolling. You know, those things are going to happen. Okay. So that little book taught me those two things, and I embraced those two things. I said, I'm going to get good at my story. I'm going to keep telling it. And sometimes I would have my husband listen to me and he would hear me tell it to people. And I'd say, how was that? And he'd say, yeah, you know that part there, don't ever say that again. So get some good critics around you. And he loves me and he's very supportive and sweet, but he was honest and that was good. And I'd say, okay, good. Thank you. I won't say that again. And he'd say, but that other part, that's really good about that part. Why don't you also say this? Because this is how I remember it, or something like that. So get some little critics around you to help listen to your story, to help you. And you guys keep telling it. How do you know if your story is helping? You're going to get good responses to your story. Okay. It's not always going to be perfect, but you're going to know when you're giving vision. And then your event. Okay. Next is DMO. I mean, it's consistency and regardless of results. So discipline your disappointments, you know, when those tough times come, but you've got to get down that DMO, that consistency. And you have to, in order to do good DMO, you have to have a list of people that you're working off of. So make sure that you actually do make a memory jogger. I don't care if it's written down on a piece of paper, that's fine. Or if you use a fancy tool like Teamzy, that's great too. However you want to do it, you have to have an organized list that you can work from. And then it's just, you know, starting to carve out time every single day. And all of us have different lives. Some of us have small children. That's how I built my business, with small children at home. Some of you have school age kids. They're in school, they're going to school all day. Some of you are homeschooling your kids. Some of you work at a job. Some of you are caring for an aging parent. Whatever your day looks like, The beauty of our business is that it's right here. It's on the phone. We can, I'm doing this in the car right now because I didn't get home in time to do this call. So I stopped, set up my computer, and here I am in the car doing this. That's so cool. And that's a good part of today that you're seeing me do this, because that's how our business is. We can listen to a conference call while we're shopping. You know, we can do all kinds of stuff. Our business is portable and it goes alongside a busy life. And so that's the way that we can do it. But you got to create that consistency. And one of the things that I loved was pretty early on, I was being encouraged to do activities. Sharon was part of that too. She'd say, "How many calls did you make today?" And I'm like, "None." And she was starting to give me ideas about how to do that. I mean, that's what a buddy does. But I began to fall into this pattern because I heard this conference call about 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Two calls to new people that you hadn't talked to yet. Two follow-up calls to people you've already talked to, but now it's time to ask them if they want to get started on Juice Plus. Then two customer calls, and then two team calls. So two, 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 two. And I said, finally, I have a job description of what I'm supposed to be doing every day. I should at least be getting 8 calls done or 8 reach outs every single day. And let me say a word about the phone for a second. I think we've kind of gotten into the habit of texting and messaging and things like that. And there's a place for those things, but there is nothing like people hearing your voice and that human touch. When they hear your voice, it's different. So I do want to encourage you guys to call. But once I had that little job description of, hey, this is what it looks like to build my paycheck, this is what my activity should look like every day, it was so helpful because I actually felt like, check, I got my work done for Juice Plus today. I actually knew kind of what it was supposed to look like. And even if I did those calls and I did some work, I felt accomplished in my work. I didn't always have great things happen, but I'll tell you, there were days where I was determined that I was going to end on a good note. And if I was really not doing well that day, I kept coming back to the work to try to end on a positive note. I'm like, I am going to end on something positive today. And so, anyway, there's the dog on a bone again. I was just very, very ready to get this work done every day. And I had to figure that out, you know, and there were choices that I had to make. You know, I love a story by Bob and Sue Burdick. It's such a beautiful story, but in a nutshell, they began to build their business. He was a carpenter and she did all kinds of odd jobs. And they actually got into a financial situation where they had to sell their family farm that they loved and they had to move away. And they learned about Juice Plus. They learned about this business, began to build it. And she says, you can either make beds or you can make money. And I heard her story early on and I thought about that a lot when I was going to clean closets out or making my house perfect. I thought, man, my house can either look perfect right now or I can make money and change our lives. And I'm like, I think I'm going to make money and change our lives. And I'm so glad I made that choice. And that was hard for me because I'm a perfectionist. I wanted everything to look perfect. And I had to learn how to let things go that weren't that important. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important to have a clean house, but it didn't have to be perfect. And that was my personality. I had to learn how to choose the important things at that time. And that was, let me build this so I don't have to say no to my kids when they want to do ballet or swim lessons or theater or whatever it was. Those were expensive things that I got to say yes to because I built this business. And looking back now, I'd love to give you that vision. Do the work so you can build this because you never know what's ahead. You don't know what you're going to need this paycheck for, but there's going to be a lot of things you want to use this paycheck for. And so it's a choice every day. Am I going to do the work or am I not? Sharon, I am just going on and on. Do you want me to stop?
Well, I'll just say a few things, just in case they want to come back to that. But when you say, I mean, I really want them to understand how much money they could make a month. I mean, give them a range.
Hmm.
Just
Okay.
give them. I mean, just
So if
that's
you
the
want,
question right away.
yes. Okay. So, you know, Wendy Campbell talks about it like a stool, a bar stool that you would sit on. Okay. And she says you can't sit on a one-legged stool. You can't sit on a two-legged stool. You can sit on a three-legged stool. If you look at our compensation plan, having three leaders, three strong lines that actually, these are three people who want to do this business with you. Um, Having a three-legged stool is going to generate a really nice paycheck. This is looking like between 2,000 and maybe $5,000 a month right here, a three-legged stool. You've got to find these people that are going to take this journey with you. And so don't get tripped up on taking care of hundreds of customers. That's not what our business is about. Don't get tripped up on having the perfect looking posts every day. I mean, you got to go out and find these people that are going to be part of the stool. That's the key. When you get the fourth and the fifth person on the stool, that's a really sturdy organization. Now we're talking 5, 6, 7,000 a month, 10,000 a month. So it is all about the team that you build on the stool. Now that team comes from customers, so don't get me wrong. We got to have customers. We've got to talk to a lot of people. That is how you build the income, is to build the team. And when our company changed the compensation plan last year, wow, I'll tell you what, the money is here in POB legs. It's in POB. You've got to get these strong people up and running. And you say, Julie, I'm trying and I had some and they're gone now. Okay, that's the way our business goes, you guys. But you've got to keep going wide. That's the beauty of our plan. You get to keep going wide. And all of what I've mentioned today, giving vision in your story, doing events, being consistent with your DMO is going to help you find these people. Okay. So income is going to come from building a strong team and getting that strong team built. And boy, the income potential is huge, is huge. And you want to find servant hearted, people to take this journey with you. So become the very best person you can be. I had such a good teacher in this business, Sharon and I both. Amy Getz. Amy is the kind of person that is so good with personal growth. And she taught me, you know what? If it is to be, it's up to me. And I can actually work on myself enough that I become so attractive. I become like a little lighthouse that people want to follow me. So ask yourself, are you somebody that people want to follow? Because that's what you want to be. You want to be someone that other people say, because when I listened to Wendy Campbell that night, oh, I wanted to grab onto her coattails and ride. That's the way I felt. That's who you have to become. We have to become that kind of person. So that, does that help? That the income potential is great. And that's not just the income potential, it's the benefits that we get along the way. It's the health, information that we get to learn along the way. There's so many beautiful parts of this business. It's that our children begin to see the path we're taking. And my kids look at the life that I have, and we've gone through a hard time as a family the last couple of years, but my paycheck hasn't missed a beat, you guys. And my kids see that and they're like, why would we not do this, mom? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's the most brilliant thing ever, what we get to do. And there are a lot of families out there that don't know yet that this could become their plan A, or it could become a secondary income stream for them. And you want to get good at sharing, the possibilities of both. Not everybody wants to make this a full-time career, but everybody needs a plan B. I mean, if there's anything we've learned through this virus, it's that. So, does that help?
Yes. And Doug has a related question.
I have like a follow up on that. So, I mean, obviously, having team is key if you want to make real money, right? And so you've been very, very successful at finding people that have become NMDs that are strong. Even there's ones that have chosen not to do this anymore that were really strong. And even like Sarah was kind of introverted, but she still made NMD, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the key? Like, coach me, Julie, how do I find people? How do I pre-qualify, or how do I find people that are going to be successful and engaged?
Okay. And remember, that part of the beautiful part of our business is that you guys, you don't have to know all the people who are going to come alongside you and become those leaders. Carmen's story is exactly that. Um, Joel got so excited at the conference where I became a national marketing director that he came home and shared Juice Plus with his office manager at school. And she shared it with her daughter, who shared it with a friend. And her friend's sister is Carmen Maxwell. So some of those leaders are going to come through the beauty of our business, which is network marketing. Don't think of that as a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. It means that you're going to share with all the people you know, but a lot of your leaders are going to come through those people and you don't even know them yet. Okay. So, what do you have to do? It's not a secret, you guys. It's the same stuff, most of what I've talked about today. You got to check yourself, you got to work on yourself. You have to make sure you've got the success ingredients there. If you don't have a strong DMO every day, you're not going to find those people. And you say, Julie, how do I get a strong DMO? You got to have a strong why. That's what makes you work. That's what makes you work. Okay, so figure that out. Maybe it's sitting down with your spouse tonight and saying, listen, I need you to encourage me through this. I want to build this business. Let's think about what this business is going to do for us in our life. I heard Julie talk today. Just blame me. Say we got to sit down for 10 minutes. Let's talk about this because I can do this. And I want you to encourage me. Okay. And sometimes your spouse doesn't encourage you and you have to work on that. That's how I grew in my business, you guys. He was skeptical. So I had to keep my mouth closed, build my paycheck. And boy, when my paycheck started growing, he got on board. He was like, you know what, I'm going to fold laundry and take care of the kids. You go work on Juice Plus. I remember the first day he said that and I almost fell over. I go, oh, okay. So you've got to do that. Get those success ingredients in place. Do the DMO. Keep working on your belief. And there's going to be some hard moments where you say, I just don't think I can do this. You know what? The only way to fail at this business is to quit and to stop. You're allowed to have a lay flat and die day, but you got to get back up and start over again and just keep going. So how do those people come? You've got to go through a lot of people. That's a hard thing to hear in this business because it does take a lot of work, but you guys, you can do it because you know what's going to happen along the way of going through a lot of people. People are going to start, their lives are going to start changing and their health. I spent some time over Christmas thinking about some of the stories, and I'm sorry, I'm going to start crying just because one of them is kind of raw with me right now. But in 21 years, can you imagine how many lives I've seen changed? Even my own life. There's a story yet to tell about us, but I don't even know if I would be here if I didn't have Juice Plus, is honestly how I feel. And you know what, you guys? That's the beauty of all the people you're going to go through to find these people. You're going to see lives change all along the way for the good. And you're going to see their children's health change, and you're going to see their parents' health change, and you're going to see all kinds of things. Their financial situations are going to start changing, even $500 a month with some people. So embrace the beauty of that. That's what you're going to need to go out and find those leaders. And you want to go to the people that are very precious in your life and just have a raw, honest conversation with them. Say, I don't even really know what I'm doing with this, but all I know is I love this and I love you. And can I tell you about this? Because maybe you want to come alongside me and do this with me. Just wear your heart on your sleeve. They might say no, that's okay. But a lot of them might say yes. Just be raw and authentic and ask them. Sometimes you might have to wait a while until they say yes, but that's okay. You've got to ask them. Ask them. So some of you I know are listening and you're saying, I haven't done that, Julie. I've got 10 really, really friends that I know could do this well, and I've not said that to them. Do it. Say it now. Say, we're starting a new year. Blame me. Say, I heard a call today. I was thinking about you the whole time. And I love what I'm doing with Juice Plus, and I love you. And can I just share with you what this is all about? Because you're somebody I'd love to lock arms with and take this journey with. Do you think we could do that? Can we carve out like 30 minutes one day? Can I really show this to you? Just be authentic like that. Don't be afraid to do that, because sometimes we don't do that with people that we know have potential because we're scared of them. They're on our chicken list, but those are the people that get a ton done every day. Those are the people you want to be going after. It doesn't mean that people who don't get a lot done can't do this business. They can, but sometimes we're scared to sponsor up. That's what somebody called it one day. And even though I don't love that term, it's true. It's looking for people better than you. looking for people who are sharper than you, smarter than you, have a better work ethic than you, that kind of thing. And it's scary to go to those people, but you know what? That's okay, you guys. Go to them. Go to the mom who runs the PTA and just say to her, say, I just love you. I admire you, blah, blah, blah. Build them up and then ask them honestly. Okay. And practice your verbiage first. Get your story down. Remember your story. And a lot of times until you have your story down, that's why you need to use three-way calls, inviting them to meet Sharon or Doug. See, that's the key, is using the three-way call. Until you learn to give vision, you've got to go to the leaders who already know how to do that. And that's why we have three-way calls.
Okay.
Okay.
In your story, you said in their story they need to share vision. And I know one of the first things you said to me is maybe one day we'll be able to stay home with our kids. And you didn't even have any kids then. And other things you've said along the way are, one day every kitchen is going to have a whole food supplement, and so you drop little things, just like you said, and you're going to see this person's health change and you're going to see this person's health change. And so she's giving vision when she even does that. So if we can infuse just a little bit of vision as we're talking to people, maybe about their whole family getting healthy or their extended family getting healthier, think of Julie when you're talking to people and how she goes a little bit farther, with the vision. Doug, you had a follow-up question?
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's so important because we can learn all this stuff. We can study websites, we can learn a marketing plan, we can go to GoPro, we can read and grow and everything. But I know some of the goals of the people on the call, and I know there's a lot of people on here that have really big goals, and a lot of us do. But I also know behind the scenes what it looks like with some of the people that are really successful in Juice Plus and what they've done to get there. So I just want you to clarify a little bit, Julie. What did it look like? I want you to take yourself back to like sales coordinator. That's during that time when you kind of went quick, right? When you decided to do it, you started going. What did it really look like? I wrote it down. What is going all in as a job and growing this really big? What does it really look like? What is like a realistic, everybody on here is pretty interested, so don't be afraid to like really tell them. I think people have to know the truth. What's a time commitment? What does DMO really look like?
Yes.
If you want to really move and shake.
Yes. And one thing that's really important is having a little goal, because I'm a concrete thinker. And when I heard about the 5-1, I said, okay, good. I can get behind something like this. They're giving me a formula for success. And I knew that a lot of people who had moved very quickly in this business had done the 5-1. So I was like, I'm going to do the 5-1 every month. I'm going to work on that. And I put that up in front of me and I'm like, oh, first customer, second customer, third customer, team member, there's my one. And I really worked at trying to do that. And so that made my DMO fun too, because I was working toward accomplishing that every month. And guess what, you guys, it worked. I remember being at a conference where my name was on this big poster because I had done the 5-1 every month. And I was also recognized by Jay Martin as being one of the top money earners between that conference and the current one. And that was all because of that 5-1. So what did my day look like? Choices. It looked like I'm going to get this accomplished today. And I really learned to do the important work, which was talking to people, which is the hardest thing because it's easier to put fires out or do something comfortable like push papers around or, look on social media and pretend I'm working. No, I had to actually talk to people and I had to keep reaching out to people. That's what our business is. You're going to have some years of hard work talking to people. That's it. You just keep talking. And I left a lot of messages and I followed up a lot of times. And you say, well, how did you follow up with people over and over and over? I would follow up 3 times very consistently in a short period of time. And then I would let it go for a month. And then I would follow up again with them. And that list became like, I wasn't going to let anybody on that list go until they said, Julie, I'm not going to buy Juice Plus or whatever. Nobody ever, thought that, but I would even try to keep my foot in the door and say, oh my goodness, I love this community and I always learn so much about health. Do you mind if I just keep you on my list? I know you don't want to purchase Juice Plus right now, and that's totally fine. I just love this information. Can I keep you on my list? And they'd say yes. So I actually never let people go if they didn't actually definitely want to go. And so I was very consistent talking to people and making those calls and making those reach outs. And it's hard sometimes, you guys, because you get no, 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 or cancellation or something. And it's hard to keep going, but you have to push through. You have to keep reaching out, and you have to, and you know what? All of a sudden, you're going to start to learn that that's how you do this and that it actually does work, because you're going to start to get responses that stun you. You're going to be like, okay, if I wouldn't have made that call, I never thought that was going to be the response I got, because all of a sudden somebody's going to get back to you, or the day you're following up, and they're going to say, you know what, I am ready, Julie. I actually have been thinking about this, and that's going to come, but it's not going to come if you don't choose. So DMO, you set aside, you got to figure out what your schedule looks like every day, and then you got to carve the time out. So with me, I had small children at home. I had to work in stolen moments every morning. And then Joel's dad would come over sometimes, and I would ask him a couple days a week, would you take the kids for a walk so that I can work on Juice Plus? And I would maybe have 30 or 45 minutes. Call, 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 call. And sometimes I'd say, you know what, I only have a couple of minutes. And oh, I'm so sorry, but I have to go right now. So you have to get good at managing your time. I love this. Be super nice and super concise. People don't want to be on the phone forever. So you learn how to have quick conversations, and that's a whole other training we could do. But I would have maybe an hour of uninterrupted time, and I got so much done in the uninterrupted time. And my husband started realizing that he would say, I'm getting home early tonight, and you can work on Juice Plus, and I'll do whatever. And this was when my paycheck began to really grow, and it was great. And if I got 2 hours of uninterrupted time, oh, I so valued that. And guess what I did? Call, 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 call. I just kept talking to people. Okay, I didn't sit and make beautiful flyers and that kind of, who cares about the flyer? It's the invitation that gets the person there. It's what you say that gets the person there, not the flyer. I mean, the flyer, sometimes it can be really beautiful and catchy, but it is going to be your invitation. And I used events as an excuse to reach out to people over and over. Events are your best friend, because those events are why I said to people, oh, I'm calling because next Thursday we're having an event, and that's another walk in the snow moment. All we could do was have events at houses. Today we can do them everywhere like this. It's so great. So then we got to a point where my husband said, you know what, Julie, we've got to free you up and give you more time. So let's talk about what that looks like. Let's hire a couple of people. First of all, let's hire somebody to clean the house. Stop doing that. And I was like, I like to clean my house. Isn't that crazy? I don't anymore, but at the time, he's like, let's just get someone to clean. And you know what he did? He figured out how much I was making an hour with Juice Plus at the time. And he goes, this is how much you're making an hour. So do you want to pay somebody else to clean the house? Or anyway, it made sense to me. So, and then he said, let's hire a couple of girls that after nap time, they come, and then you have extra time. So you have nap time to work, and then you have a little bit more time. So I'm just going through this because you have to play with your schedule, and you have to work with your spouse and try to figure out, how can I carve more time out so I have uninterrupted time? And listen, when those kids went down for nap time, I remember running down the stairs to get on the phone. And it wasn't always perfect. Sometimes one of them would start crying. I'd have to get off the phone and go get them, so it's okay. It's not going to look perfect. But same thing when they went to bed at night from 7 to 9 o'clock. Oh, I was calling, because a lot of times Joel wasn't home. He was getting his doctorate degree while I was building Juice Plus. So I was by myself, and I could have either made beds and cleaned closets, or I could have done phone calls, and I chose to do phone calls. So that's the key, is really working. And you know what? 30 minutes of calling every single day, that can do a world of good in this business. If you get an hour or 2 hours a day, wow. You got to make sure you're doing the right activity, and that is reaching out to people. Okay. And learn to push all the unimportant stuff to the side. Don't do unimportant stuff when you have uninterrupted time. Uninterrupted time is spent talking to people. Talk to people. Does that help? Is
Yeah.
that
So
clear enough with DNO?
yeah, you used to say, when you have quiet time, don't go to the grocery store. you know,
That's
don't,
right.
you have to suffer and bring your children to the grocery store instead, so that
That's
when you
right.
do have the quiet time, you can really do the business. So I think that everybody sees that you were super intentional. Plus, I remember you you dedicated a couple nights a week even to working an hour or more on a Tuesday, Thursday, I remember, and you wanted to make sure that these other nights you paid attention to Joel. Like you were um, very diligent about cordoning off time blocks, right?
That's right. I didn't want to be the mom that was working all the time. I wanted to. So I learned how to carve out time to spend very intentional time with my kids. In fact, I was so diligent about that. Turns out I have more video of my friends' kids and things than they do. And they were all stay-at-home moms with, their husbands only worked. So I was very intentional about spending time with my kids, spending time with my husband. And, we have to do that. But, remember you guys that you can change your family's life with being intentional. You can build a paycheck that can give your family choices that you never thought you would have. And that is, boy, if I can give you long-term vision, that's it. What you're going to do today is going to change tomorrow in your family's life, possibly. And so take that time, make that time. And, people say, oh, what about balance? There is no such thing as balance. We can try. Sometimes you have balance, maybe for 10 minutes. No, sometimes you get into a place where you have good balance, but you never have perfect balance. That's okay. You do have to make sure that you keep your priorities. I want to spend time with the Lord every day. That's a huge priority of mine. I want to spend intentional time with my kids. There's plenty of time in the day, though. There's a lot of wasted time in our days too. Figure out where you're wasting time and start putting that into Juice Plus. That is the key.
I do think that's very key. It was your intentionality, and you always had a list, and you always made the most of whatever time you had. So, what about confidence? How would you say, what are the best steps for somebody to build their confidence in this business?
Yes. So being confident has a lot to do with belief. And if you're kind of, if you're, oh, well, you know, iffy about the price of Juice Plus, maybe deep down you think it's expensive or you don't think it's the best or something, you got to settle that, because confidence is going to come from belief. Strong belief breeds strong confidence. Also, the other thing that builds your confidence is practice. You're not ever going to get confident at any area of this business without really trying. And so, when I look back on my journey, honestly, you guys, I had such fear of what will people think of me. I'm guilty of comparing myself with others, that kind of stuff. I'm scared, very much so of, what people think, that I had to overcome all of that. And when I look back on my journey, I think, wow, if I can do this, anybody can do it. Honestly, I know some of you look at me and say, oh no, Julie, you're a natural. No, I wasn't. I had to really work hard to step outside my comfort zone and get confident. I remember I really had a ton of questions about Juice Plus. I had to get them all answered. So did Sharon. Both of us are very we both have a skeptical side to us, to where we wanted to learn how to answer the questions, know the answers. We wanted to understand this business. I needed to read a book about network marketing because I was very fearful. Had never done anything in network marketing before, but it wasn't long before I realized that a lot of people had a bad taste in their mouth about it. And I needed to read a book about it to help strengthen my belief in that. And I did. So whatever it is, wherever your belief is weak, that's where your confidence is probably going to be weak too. So strengthen those beliefs and your confidence is going to be better. And that confidence is going to come as you begin to have some success. So you got to hang in there, keep going, keep following up. It's okay. And Sharon mentioned that I got to the level in our business where I started to get leads from the company. And one day I got a lead and it was a doctor. Oh, and I was so excited about that. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it changed everything for me. I was so excited to help him grow the business. And you know, he didn't really grow into anything huge, but I became so diligent about helping him that it grew my confidence. And that's sometimes the beauty and blessing of this too, is that when these people begin to come, they're going to push you to become the best leader, the best version of yourself. And that's another thing, you know, that I'm going to be working with our leaders this year in 2021 is really working on being the best leader you can be, because this is a follow the leader kind of business. So if you actually don't have people around you that are iron sharpens iron people in your life, there are a couple things that really affect the person that we become. Number one are the people you hang with. So question your, are you hanging out with toxic people? Or are you hanging out with people who really sharpen you and encourage you? The other thing are the books that you read. I can read books today and still I just take away so much. I take notes on the book, and a lot of times I go back and read my notes. Those books help to sharpen me. So that's going to breed confidence too, is really working on your character. You know, how much of a servant are you, that kind of thing too. And being smart with your time, that kind of thing too. Stephen Covey is good for that. I'm a good fire putter outer. um, and I had to learn what was urgent and what was very important. Important grows your paycheck and your team. The urgent stuff kills your time. And I had to learn to stop doing that urgent stuff, because I'm like, oh, there's a squirrel. You know, I would just get sidetracked constantly and do this. And I was like, stop, Julie, doing that. I got to stick with the important stuff and get that done. And then I can do this other stuff over here. And that's an important thing too. So you have to kind of learn, where are the places that are tripping me up? Let me fix those, and let me really continue to work on those too. So preach it, Julie. Okay, good.
I do remember us coming back. We went to a couple boot camps right away when we were
Oh, yeah.
young in the business. We have a summit coming up.
Mhm.
Not this weekend, is it? Is it next weekend? I'm lost in January. This weekend, Michelle
This
says she's so
Saturday.
much better at this.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So when we came back from the Jupiter boot camp,
Mhm.
that's when Julie was like, she took off. You know, she totally took off.
That's
And
right.
Gordon Pastor said, you know, focus on your time management, and she did. And she, you know, didn't focus on the what is it, urgent. She focused on the important, all that good stuff. So, how should we be inviting for this summit that's coming up this Saturday?
Mhm. Yes, and these events can change everything for people, just like that event that night with Wendy Campbell, and definitely that boot camp that we went to. I got vision. And you know what I embraced was, I need to be teachable and learn from these people who are up in front of the room. I didn't ever sit there and sit in judgment of them or think they're not a very good speaker. All I did was soak in everything that they said. And I was like, these are people that have gone before me and they're successful. I'm going to do exactly what they're saying. So be very teachable in that way. So, how can you invite for this weekend? Well, I love the message that we got from Catherine Lee. Hopefully, you guys got to hear that about inviting to this. I would reach out first because of this, what we talked about today. Reach out to anybody that you think could be a strong leg in your organization, to be a strong team member, somebody that wants to lock arms, and go to that person authentically and just say, you can blame this call this morning again, or just say, Happy New Year. Oh my goodness, I heard a call this morning. The whole time I was thinking about you. And then invite them this Saturday. If they can't come on Saturday, then invite them to something else that you're doing. Always have a little backup plan for something else that you have, or invite them to meet your friend Sharon. I would love for you to hear her story, something like that. So, inviting to that event is huge, because there's something to be said for whoever gets the most people to an event wins in our business. That's true. The more people, because events give vision like nothing else. I mean, your story can give vision, but not like an event. An event where people get to hear a variety of people, and basically they're going to land on something that's going to be a light bulb moment for them. Most likely that's going to happen at that event. So invite to events, embrace that. And I know we have a lot of events that happen very often. Just choose, don't get overwhelmed by that. Choose the ones that work for you and invite very, very well to those. Invite a lot of people. I learned you got to over invite. If you invite 30, six of the people will come. That's true. So you got to over invite. And if you invite three, chances are none of them are coming. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So make sure you invite a lot of people. And yes, I would just, at this point, there's a lot of things that you could write down that will help you invite. You know, you love being part of this community. This is such a positive place to spend your life with. We need positive as we begin this new year. Everybody needs a plan B. You can talk about how you're thankful that you have something that you don't have to go into a building to work it. You get to work it from home. And if there's, anything you've become grateful for as we begin this new year is having a way to build income from being at home, and you really want the people in your life that you love to know about that. I think that's the way that I will be inviting to this Saturday, is saying something like that. I just want to make sure that I come back around to all the people I love and say, hey, this is something that is such a blessing during this time of uncertainty, where you can actually build a paycheck from home and help a lot of people along the way too.
Awesome, Julie. Well, I would love for you guys to put your thoughts in the chat. I'm going to show you the events for the week so that you know exactly what's happening this week. Julie, you are a maestro. I wanted to make sure you guys knew about tonight. You can see my screen, right? With Shelly Mackey and Wendy Campbell. I mean, they're going to light you up for 2021. That's for sure. So Julie already got you started. And I think us just really cordoning off time and applying what Julie has to say is going to be amazing. We just started the shred today, and I've actually kept it so far. So let's keep going on the shred so we can have something to talk about. Randy Matthews says if you want to ramp up your story, you change your story. So once you start implementing simple habits that are different, then you can have a new story. And then Sony's going to be talking about which salad? Power salad. Is that right? Tomorrow night, I think that is, in the group called Detox, I think. Sorry, I don't know the exact name. Nicole Fiol, our team member, superstar, is going to be on the Tower Garden corporate Zoom with Laura Morelos. Now, this is in Spanish, so invite your Spanish-speaking guests, okay? Dr. Fred Arbach has been in the business as long as we have. I know that because I think he was one of the cassette tapes we probably listened to many years ago. So having a dentist say yes to Juice Plus, because how many times do those mommies say, oh, but I don't want them to have the gummies. Let's see what he has to say Thursday night. And then Doug has a business Zoom. What time is your business Zoom Thursday night? So you might have to choose. Hold on. This one is at 8:30.
I think we're at 8.
Okay, that's perfect. And here's the summit. So session 1 is at 12 Eastern. And that's for us. Okay. Then there's one at 3 Eastern for guests. That's going to be oriented toward guests that you can invite to learn more about Juice Plus in the business. And then January 15th, for those people who did qualify October, November, December, not every one of those months, but you get invited to this, and that'll come. Okay, so always look at your Juice Plus insights. We are going to continue with the Lunch and Learns Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday until further notice. And then the Blitz, and we did that this morning. We always have some good old reliables on the Blitz, and we got a lot done. So that was awesome. Anyway, thank you, Julie, so much for coming on here today. We love you, and it's been a wonderful journey. We didn't get to talk about every aspect of her journey. You know what? On CampbellTeam.net, password CampbellTeam, if you go on there, I believe that call probably is still there, working as a busy mom, which Michelle referred to in the chat. Which is golden. It's golden because it's so many years ago. And she's talking about specifics of, and when I unload the dishwasher, Hannah's doing finger painting. Okay, that wasn't happening at the boy household of mine. But, she goes into detail about, just working your business as a busy mom. And she's been a great influence for us all. So thank you, Julie. We really appreciate it. You
Well,
guys,
I love you and Doug, and I'm so proud of you guys. So thankful for your team. Love you all. Happy New Year.
thank you. All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Julie.
Thank you,
Thanks, Julie.
Julie. Bye.